Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight. I'm Roger Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Our top story. A man appears in court in Pakistan accused of spreading false information which fuelled riots here after the Southport stabbings. Farhan Asif faces cyber-terrorism charges after reposting unverified social media rumours on his website, Channel 3 Now. Also tonight, the strange tale of the snails, the empty office block and a tax avoidance investigation. 200 years of saving lives. We'll be celebrating the RNLI in Cumbria as we continue our journey along the region's coast. Blossoming nicely, Stockport's finest are in the studio live with a new album and looking ahead to their biggest gig.
And today, weather-wise, has been a little bit disappointing with lots of clouds, spells of rain. But is it a glimpse into what's to come for the rest of the week? Well, join me at the end of the programme. I'll give you all the details.
Now, most nights of late, if you've been watching, you'll know that we've reported on people appearing in court over the riots following last month's Southport stabbings. Well, tonight, another court case. This time, though, in Pakistan. Lahore is 5,500 miles from Merseyside, but Farhan Asif is facing cyber-terrorism charges, accused of spreading the false information which fuelled the riots. Let's talk to Phil McCann. He's been following this. He's live for us in the newsroom. So tell us more, Phil, about what Mr Asif is alleged to have done.
Well, the police in Pakistan, Roger, say that Farhan Asif is behind some of the social media accounts for that news website that you mentioned called Channel 3 Now, which published a false article in the hours after those stabbings in Southport, which of course led to the deaths of 3 young girls and left 10 others seriously injured. That article wrongly claimed that the man who the police had arrested was an asylum seeker who'd arrived in the UK by boat, as you could see. It gave a false name, and that false name led to speculation that that man was Muslim. The man that the police had in fact arrested was Axel Rudapakana. He was from a Christian family. He was born in Cardiff. Later, Channel 3 Now published an apology which it put on its website. Today, within the last few hours, that website appears to be down, but the X account or Twitter account for it is still active. It hasn't been updated in over a week now. Now, the police in Pakistan say that Mr Asif is responsible for that X account, and they say he used it with the intent to glorify the incident. They say he created a sense of fear, panic and insecurity in the government and in the public, although an official in Pakistan has told the AFP news agency that in fact the intent, they say, was to make money by getting people to click on the story. The police in Pakistan also say that Mr Asif copied the information without checking it from an X account that was based in the UK. And now a woman who lives near Chester was arrested around a fortnight ago on suspicion of writing an inaccurate social media post about the identity of the attacker. She has since been released on bail.
Phil, thank you. Phil McCann in the newsroom there with the latest on that end of things in Pakistan. The families, incidentally, of the 3 girls who were killed in Southport met the King today. And while a court in Pakistan, as Phil was telling us, was considering the aftermath, those closer to home continued to punish the people involved. Among them, a man who shouted, "Kill him," as a black man was attacked in Manchester. He was jailed today for 3 years. Yunus Muller is at Manchester Crown Court. He's been following developments there. Yunus, some of the footage you're about to show people might find upsetting, but just tell us more about what happened there today.
Roger, Warren Gilchrist describes himself as a critical thinker, but the court was told in reality he was motivated by religious and racial hostility and misogyny. He turned up at this far-right protest in Piccadilly Gardens. He filmed himself. He was captured on his own footage and that of other people, aggressively encouraging a violent mob who had attacked a lone black man. He could be heard shouting, kill him, stamp on his face. He was also seen kicking out at a police officer who was trying to protect the victim. And later, when a group surrounded 2 Muslim women wearing headscarves and a veil, he told them, "You're getting slapped. Women or not, you're getting slapped." Now, the judge said that Gilchrist had a concerning and an extreme nature, and he also went on to describe this incident as disturbing. And Philip Hall KC for the prosecution also outlined a number of previous offences, including those for violence, possessing a weapon, but also a number of sex offences, including those against children under the age of 13. Now, the judge, Patrick Field KC, picked up on that, and that's because Gilchrist could be heard shouting, "Save our kids, save our kids," during this protest. The judge said that was rank hypocrisy, and if only they knew about him. He was jailed for 3 years.
And Yunus, also more prison sentences following the first riot, which of course happened in Southport.
That was in Liverpool when Neil Fluid KC said this was as bad a case as he had seen. Now, Luke Moran could be seen on footage attacking a police van with a police officer inside with a lump of concrete. Now, police body cam footage also shows this attack taking place outside a mosque in Southport, and that's before police reinforcements arrived, with full riot gear. In fact, the police officer said he feared for his life. Now, Luke Moran, who's from Birkdale, stood in the dock with a number of defendants. They fist bumped and said good luck to each other before the sentencing, but after that sentence was delivered, their family members were in tears. The judge said the violence was neither thoughtless nor mindless, it was deliberate. Now, so far, we know that 156 people across the northwest have been charged following those violent disturbances that followed the killings of the 3 children in Southport.
Yunus, thank you. Yunus Muller there, live for us in Manchester. Now, in other news tonight, a man has been killed by his own XL bully dog at his home in Lancashire. 53-year-old David Daintree was attacked by the pet in Ashley Court in Accrington and was found dead around 9:30 last night. Police officers said they had no alternative but to shoot the dog to prevent it from causing further injury. The Isle of Man's main passenger ferry, the Manxman, was damaged as it docked at Heysham in the early hours of this morning. The steam packet company says that no one was injured and plans are being put in place to minimise disruption during the busy Manx Grand Prix and the bank holiday weekend. Now, here's a question. How do you avoid paying costly business rates on an empty office block? Well, one way is to turn it into a farm, in this case, a snail farm, as you can see. And that's what Liverpool City Council believes is behind a bizarre operation in one city centre building. The firm renting the space says that it is a legitimate snail farming operation. But the council has its doubts, as Andy Gill explains.
It's an ordinary-looking office building close to Liverpool Town Hall. But what's been on a lower floor is not ordinary. More than a dozen crates containing as few as 2 snails each. The crates have been here since 2023. A surprising feature for some passers-by.
It seems a little odd. Yeah. We're not known for eating snails. Scousers, are we? Disgusting. Why are they doing that?
So why keep snails in a crate in an office building? It could mean the building qualifies as agricultural use, and that would mean it would be exempt from business rates. The company who rented the space says this has been a legitimate snail farming operation. Its sole director is a man called Terry Ball. He's also the director of a company based in Ribchester in Lancashire, whose website says it has a track record of minimising the liability for empty property rates. Tax avoidance is not illegal, and one observer says companies attempting it will try different methods.
It's really at the very sharp edge of legal evolution. And of course, isn't that the case with most schemes? Doesn't have to be in business rates where a person with a potential liability for tax wants to avoid paying it. They will look for legal argument, they look for nuance.
In the case of business rates, tax avoidance could mean less money for the council to spend on services.
Well, councils will use business rates to pay for things like street cleaning, libraries, education. And if money doesn't come in the form of business rates, then other businesses have to pay, and residents have to pay, services need to be cut.
3 years ago, the appeal court upheld a ruling that snail farm tenancies run by another Terry Ball company were a sham. Mr. Ball has not responded to the BBC's inquiry about whether his company gets any money for occupying the lower floor of the building. In a statement, he said, "We always notify both the Valuation Office Agency and the local council of our intention to occupy any property at the start of each occupation, providing full details of the current legislation required for exemption, which unfortunately is mostly ignored." The crates were not in the building today. The BBC has tried to contact the building owner but has had no response. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
I know there's a serious issue at play here, but it could be a shell company. We've reported recently on the financial problems facing Cheshire East Council. Tonight, the council is holding an emergency meeting to agree on nearly £100 million of cuts to prevent it from effectively going into bankruptcy. Our Cheshire political reporter, Kayleigh Watterson's here. She's been taking a look at this story. I know you've been following it for quite a while, so give us some more of the detail.
Yes, Cheshire East Council has faced significant financial difficulties in recent months, and it's already made a number of cuts to services. These have included things like the temporary closure of 3 tips, planned cuts to library opening hours, and introducing new parking charges in some areas as well. But now it's looking to make even more savings. It's set this evening to sign off plans to make £91 million worth of savings over the next 4 years. And some of the measures the council would look to introduce would include changes to bins, which could include moving to 3 weekly bin collections, changes to its libraries, which could see them being run by charities or trusts, and a reduction of agency staff. Now, a report last month warned Cheshire East Council could face effective bankruptcy unless it acted because of its low reserves, historical overspending and challenging savings targets. But councils can't actually go bankrupt. Instead, they issue what's called a Section 114 notice. That means they have to stop all new spending and hold an emergency meeting where they more than likely sign off on significant cuts. Now, Cheshire East Council has faced a number of issues. It has been impacted by the cancellation of the northern leg of HS2, as money it spent preparing for it may now need to be written off. It's also faced significant issues with its spending on special educational needs and disabilities. And it's said this year it could reach a SEND deficit of £285 million by the end of the decade. But of course, Cheshire East Council isn't the only council with financial issues in the country, and some of the challenges they're facing aren't unique. But now the council, which is the 3rd largest unitary authority in the region, is set to sign off on proposals which could see major changes and more cuts over the coming years before that plan is then submitted to the government by the end of this month. Roger.
Kayleigh, thank you. I know you'll continue to follow what happens and the fallout from it. Thank you very much indeed. That's Kayleigh Watterson, our Cheshire political reporter. Now, the RNLI is celebrating its 200th anniversary this year, as you probably know, and in the latest of our series, travelling along the region's coast, Phil Chapman has been to St Bees in Cumbria to meet the lifeboat crew there.
In the 200-year history of the RNLI, the St Bees Lifeboat Station is a relative newcomer, with the first boathouse established here in 1970. Things have come a long way since then, with the latest Class B Atlantic rescue vessel one of the fastest in the fleet. One of the newest recruits here is trainee Kerry Beth Quinn, who feels honoured to be a part of the RNLI's history while being led here by new technology.
Initially, I wasn't really looking to join the RNLI specifically, but I wanted to do something to help others in the community and give my time to people. And I think coincidentally I was scrolling through social media and saw that St Bees were looking for volunteers, so that's how I got into it. So I work at Sellafields, a local industry here, but they're really good. They give us the opportunity, as long as we're capable at work, we can leave to come and join a shout when needed. It can be difficult at times, you know, when you're sitting having a nice meal with your other half and the pager goes off, but it just becomes something that you do.
And Kerry fully appreciates just how things have evolved over the last 2 centuries.
We've gone from horses pulling in carts with boats on and people actually manually rowing the boats out to sea, to now we've got the speedboats with 115 horsepower engines and fancy tractors to get us there.
And one of those trained to drive the tractor is Alistair Graham, one of the longest-serving members of the crew, who was recently invited to Buckingham Palace after 40 years' service.
Being granted a garden party by the King for the 200 years, and it was for everybody who was celebrating a milestone or a significant service medal. So, as I've got my 40 years medal, there was 4 of us from the station went down. I think it was one of my wife's favourite moments of the RNLI. I think it's quite important that we celebrate those who've gone before us and remember those. And also we need to think about the future generation and make sure they're trained, and that's my goal now, is that I pass my legacy on and pass some good knowledge over.
And the crew's inviting the community to join them for a celebratory bicentenary dinner at a local hotel in the autumn. Phil Chapman, BBC North West Tonight, St Bees.
Yeah, they do amazing work, don't they? We're going to stay in Cumbria, actually, because over the past couple of weeks, we've been featuring some of the nominees for the BBC Local Radio Make a Difference Awards. And one of the nominees for Radio Cumbria is the Kirby Green Community Group. They've been creating habitats for native plants and wildlife in Kendal, as Michelle Adamson's been finding out.
Sowing the seeds of change. These children are helping to rewild parts of their local area.
We've been planting and it's gonna grow.
They're part of the Kirby Green Community Group in Kendal. Bob Gibbs is one of the founding members.
About 5 years ago, we started to come together because we had a few problems around here. There was a bit of antisocial behaviour. One of the greens was becoming a bit neglected, and the neighbours around here said we should do something about this area, try to improve it, to beautify it.
Since then, the group have been busy helping native plants and animals to thrive.
This is a lovely native walnut. I think that whole, yeah, that's perfect. Just pop a bit of soil on that. Just a lovely place to be, and it makes life nicer, doesn't it, to be around nature. We just love it.
We've replanted trees and shrubs, and also we've built hides for hedgehogs, we've put bat boxes up the trees, bird boxes.
But it's not just the environment that's benefited from the group's activities.
It's brought a sense of community to what is essentially a modern housing estate. And I think it's just built a sense of connection with people that we wouldn't normally hang out with, of different age groups. And you can come together because we've got a common goal. You're going to walk around in a circle over here. And just...
The group's efforts have been recognised with a nomination in the Green category of BBC Radio Cumbria's Make a Difference Awards.
Winning isn't the important thing, just the recognition, I think, is the important aspect for us.
Beautiful, nice, beautiful plant.
It feels like people are taking notice, and I feel like this is going to encourage lots of other people and groups around this area and other areas to go do the same, and that's quite exciting.
Michelle Adamson, BBC North West Today, Kendal.
And well done to all the nominees for those awards. Quick bit of football for you. Blackpool have sacked their head coach Neil Critchley today after successive defeats at the start of the season. It was his second spell in charge at Bloomfield Road, and they only missed the League One playoffs last season by a narrow margin. Richard Keogh is taking over as caretaker boss. Now, it's 8 years, I reckon, since our next guests first appeared on this sofa in this studio on North West Tonight, and that's because they'd just come fourth in the BBC's Sound of 2016. The Stockport band Blossoms have gone from strength to strength since then, with 3 #1 albums. And this weekend, they will play their biggest gig yet in front of 30,000 fans at Wythenshawe Park in Manchester. And they've got a new album out next month. Another banger.
Thank you.
Tom Ogden is here, the singer, drummer Joe Donovan as well. Thank you both very much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
How are you looking forward to 30,000 people inside Wythenshawe Park?
Makes more real when you say it like that. But
Sorry.
I've started to get butterflies this week.
Yeah.
Because you've been so busy prepping for it. Sometimes you don't take stock of what's actually happening. But this week feels it's happening now.
We're comparing it to before to, like, you know, sort of Christmas Day, but you're the one cooking the meal. Do you know what I mean? There's like a lot of prep going in.
Lots of people will relate to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of prep going on and things like that. So as soon as we've finished dessert, that's when...
Prep the roast potatoes and with the duck fats on them.
So how much time do you... Because everyone thinks rock and roll, you just turn up, you go on stage, you do it. How much time do you actually spend in a rehearsal room?
Well, we've like planned everything from the show for what the backdrop's going to look like. We've like covered everything in the same kind of velvet drapes that we've had on the album cover. So we're trying to like make it a whole extension of the new record that's coming next month. And then rehearsing the actual show. We've been rehearsing probably for like a month, haven't we?
Yeah, a month solid, like, I'd say.
And is that hard? It sounds quite hard if you're in a room all day.
I think physically it's quite hard. I mean, especially for me, playing the drums every day, you know, for that lot of length of time, it is quite hard. But it's a dream job, isn't it?
Like, you know, you're doing what you love doing.
You're not down to mine, are you?
Exactly. With your friends, like making music, like it's not hard on that level, but you still got to work hard to get it the way you want it. I think depends how much you care about that side of the show, and I think we're quite pernickety about things.
You've come a long way. We've got some footage of one of your. I was going to say older records, but that doesn't sound right, does it? You remember a different hairstyle, Tom, as well.
Yeah.
When I said you came fourth in the Sound of 2016, Dua Lipa was in it, didn't even get into the top 5.
That is wild, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Great.
I mean, do you pinch yourselves still?
Yeah, all the time, yeah.
I thought it then just walking in, like you said, just off camera then, like we've approached 30, we're 10 years into the band, well, we are 30. 10 years into the band.
You're wearing it well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still sometimes get ID'd, so I think that's just because I can't grow facial hair.
I don't, yeah. It's gone for me, yeah.
I think we've like reflected a bit more than we ever have done. Sometimes you're just like always looking forward and you never really take some of the achievements you've done in, whereas now we're kind of, I feel like we've had a bit more time to reflect and, you know, like you said, naming the things we've done over the years, it is quite the achievement.
So you've got a new album coming out. You're also doing a tour, aren't you? UK tour at the end of the year.
Yeah, the end of October.
October into November, yeah.
And does that take, again, a lot of work, or do you have people who just deal with everything for you?
No, Joe, we've got an amazing team, from management to our crew and things like that, like who do an awful lot as well as ourselves. Do you know what I mean? It's a proper collaborative effort.
I think we're very hands-on for a band. We've got like our own unit, which is kind of like the hub. So we do like, we've got our own podcast, we do that there, we shoot some of the videos there, we rehearse there. We just go in like you would, and like a normal job.
That's where the audience is, isn't it? It's podcasts or whatever.
I just think being sort of transparent sometimes, you know what I mean? It's a real good connection to fans, and it's like a nice way to sort of not just express yourself via music, but express yourself as like people as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think one of our most redeeming features is the fact that we are like 5 mates, and we sort of started this band when we were still sort of just after school. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we all sort of born in the same hospital. You know what I mean? The standard things that we used to come about. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the fact that we did all them things is like a massive redeeming feature about us.
And was your first gig in Night and Day?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
We were all in different bands at the same time, and your old band got offered the gig, and he didn't end up being able to do it. So we'd already like started rehearsing as Blossoms, and it kind of came about. We only had about 4 tunes.
Wow.
We did like one cover of something from.
I think we got.
I think it was like "Girl, You'll Be a Woman."
We got paid £36 and got a parking fine for the van at the back. So.
Well, you can afford to pay that now, I'm sure. The reason I asked that, we're going to talk about the Beatles actually, but before that, let me say thank you again, both of you, Joe, Tom, for coming in, and wish you all the very best on Sunday night. I really hope it goes well.
Thanks for having us.
The guys were saying their first gig in Night and Day in Manchester. The Beatles, of course, started their music career in a basement coffee bar in Liverpool. Did you know that? It was called the Casbah. It was the cellar of Pete Best's family home in West Derby. He, of course, was the original drummer, Joe.
He was.
Who was replaced by... Go start. You,
Joe didn't get replaced.
Now the rest of the house has been turned into an Airbnb, so fans can actually stay in the property where the original Beatles used to hang out together. So if you need somewhere to stay when you're in Liverpool...
Good to know we record in Liverpool sometimes.
You've got somewhere to stay. Here's Lindsay Prosser.
You know, when the club opened in 1959, that was the last thing that I was thinking, that I would actually be performing in some shape or form in the Casbah.
4 friends playing music in a basement bar. This is where the young Beatles played rock and roll and hung out together. It was in the home of the Beatles' original drummer, Pete Best.
Whether I'm the 5th Beatle, original Beatle or ex-Beatle, take your pick. OK.
Pete's mum Mona ran the Casbah. The band played there regularly and would also spend time together in the house. The original Casbah still exists, and above there are now 5 suites in the B&B. It's a project which Pete has been thinking of for some time.
It's about my time with the Beatles, okay, when it was John, George, Paul, Stu, and myself, you know, the 5 of us initially, and then it became 4 when Stu left. So a lot of people have asked, you know, why have you named the suites the Harrison suite, the McCartney, the Sutcliffe, the Lennon, the best suite, and it's because they were the people that played at the club. They were the people who partied there. They were the people who slept there.
That's what I want.
The people turn around and say, okay, for example, why haven't you got a Ringo suite or a Star suite? He wasn't part of it then, okay? He wasn't part of the close fraternity.
Bookings are already being taken, and there's been interest from across the globe.
Because of the history and because of the fact that the Beatles played there, slept there, partied there, it was unique. There's nothing else like it in the world.
Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
That is a great place to stay, isn't it? There you go, the Beatles and Blossoms back to back on North West Tonight. You won't get it anywhere else. Right, let's have a look at the weather, shall we? All those people going to this gig on Sunday night, I hope the weather will be nice for them outdoors.
Yes, changeable at the weekend, bank holiday weekend, but today changeable as well. We started off rather pleasant, a good deal of sunshine, blue skies, but then it did start to cloud over as we went into the afternoon and we saw spells of rain as well. But thank you to our weather watchers for sending your pictures in. As ever, you can send them to me online, and even better, you can also sign up to become a weather watcher. So as mentioned then, changeable at the weekend and over the next few days as well. We'll probably seeing quite a lot of rain out there and very windy at times, but equally dry also with some sunny spells. We do have this weather front moving through tonight. That's got the remnants of Hurricane Ernesto, so that means towards the early hours, we'll see quite a lot of rain. It will be heavy and the winds will pick up as well. I think tonight we'll start off with some clear skies for some, but then as that weather front moves through, we'll start to see the thickening cloud and spells of rain, and then heavy rain into the early hours, with temperatures holding up, though, lows of 12, 13 degrees under that cloud cover. But it will be very windy out there. We could see wind gusts nearing 60 miles per hour on the Isle of Man and the coast of Cumbria. And it's also in Cumbria where we do have this weather warning for strong winds valid from 1 a.m. until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So then tomorrow, an unsettled day. We'll start off with quite a lot of rain, cloudy conditions, but through the day, as that weather front moves off to the north, to the southeast, you can see behind it, it'll leave us with rather settled conditions. A good deal of sunshine, but still very windy out there, but still temperatures getting up to 19, 20 degrees Celsius. That's your weather.
Oh, we're heading towards a bank holiday weekend, Emmanuel, so...
You know what that means?
Oh, I hope not. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching very much. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.